This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
The views expressed on the following show do not necessarily reflect those of WPSL, but you know what? We're the ones that invite you and encourage you to like and share them on social media and with all of your friends. Martin County Roofing now presents independent insurance agent Rudy Howard with the African American scene.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be here with you. And listen, I'm telling you, boy, if you need roof work, go and see my man, Alcius, man. Martin County Roofing is the bomb. They will fix your roof, and he can do all kinds of roofing stuff. So please, he's got my endorsement. Man, I gotta tell you, I can't remember a more exciting weekend of football. The games were just absolutely off the Geiger counter.
Oh, you're just glad that Tom Brady probably won't play in the next Super Bowl.
Well, believe it or not, I'm not a big Brady fan, but my second team.
The Green Bay Packers?
No, my second. No.
They're in trouble too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my wife doesn't like them because she doesn't like Aaron Rodgers. But the Bucks was my second favorite team after the Philadelphia Eagles. So both of my teams are like out.
Okay.
Not a big Brady fan, but listen, I've said, and I'll say it to the high heavens, the man is dynamite.
Well, yeah, for a long time.
Yes, sir. He deserves all the praise that he gets.
I still think Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady will end up together on a team somewhere in the future.
Oh, no, I don't see that happening. But anyway, well, let me just tell you, on the horizon, I met a guy at my golf course. I belong to St. Lucie Trails over in St. Lucie West. And I met this guy. He asked me to come over, and I sat and talked with him. And he wrote a book, Unintended Consequence. And he's a conservative, and he wants to have a debate with me. And you know that's right down my alley. So, but he asked that I read his book first, and I said that I would. So at some point in the next couple of months, Bill Kane and I are going to get on here, and we're going to debate the issues. I read the intro and the first chapter. Pretty much standard conservative stuff. Some stuff he says I agree with. A lot of it I don't agree with, but nevertheless, I think it would make for a very lively debate because he's a guy he's kind of a rambunctious guy, but a guy you can talk to. So stay tuned for that. I'll let you know when that actually is scheduled. Okay, so if this is the first time you've ever listened to me, then you know the way I do this is I throw out some topics, one of which I threw out before we never got a chance to thoroughly vet. So I'm putting it up here again. I throw out some topics, and then I encourage you to call up and talk about them. Topic number 1. Clarence Thomas' wife is involved with a lot of right-wing organizations. What say you about that? Clarence Thomas's wife, the New York Times did a very extensive report on her involvement. And I think we should talk about it because there's some things about that, not just that she's involved in some right-wing things, but those of us that are married, we know the pillow talk that goes on between husband and wife. Item number 2. Is America racist? That's one of the things that we people are talking about that all the time, and they're saying America's not racist, and I don't see how you can say that America's racist, and so forth and so on. So I want to hear what you think. If you think America's not racist, Tell me why not. Topic number 3. Affirmative action has made its way back to the Supreme Court for the first time, I guess, in about 20 years. There's going to be a debate on affirmative action, and it has to do with Harvard and UNC. What is your thoughts about college and affirmative action?
I'd expect something like that from Harvard, but
Yeah.
North Carolina,
Yeah.
different attitude, different areas,
Yeah, well, you know what the difference there is, you got one state university and one private university.
Oh.
So it's kind of interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. There are some things about Black history that I think you really need to know. And some of the facts are so obscure, and I'm going to endeavor in Black History Month. I always do stuff for Black History Month. For this month coming up, I'm going to try to find those stories that I know you haven't heard of.
Right, I was going to say, be careful. You might just learn something.
Yeah, we're gonna give them some stories that they don't know nothing about, and a lot of people are going to be very surprised because there's plenty of information out there that they need to know about. And this is the one that I'm revisiting because I brought it up before. Why is the right so angry? What are you so angry about? Why are you so mad? What is it about Democrats that you can't stand? I'd like to know. So you know I'm a Democrat and a progressive, so it's okay. You can call me up and tell me exactly why, what it is about me and my others in my political philosophy you don't like. And I'll be happy to listen to what you have to say. And maybe you can have an impact on my own thinking. I don't know. It's possible. So that number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590.
Now, I'll always be standing by to incite some calls. This show, by the way, very rare show, heard on a mostly conservative radio station when you listen to the programming that we've got from the networks and stuff. But I got to say this, it's probably the most popular liberal radio show on the radio on the Treasure Coast, or anywhere for that matter, because they usually don't do very good. I mean, having a conservative audience, and the one thing about conservatives that everybody must love is they're so open-minded and open to things that they're not familiar with. Right? 340-1590.
Yeah, I would say, well, I think my guests, some of my guests have been surprised that I have a pretty healthy following of people that are conservatives. And sometimes they even stop me and they go, and you know what? I don't always agree with you, but you do make me think. And I said, well, you know what? That's the whole idea. We want to make you think. Well, this story I've come across with Clarence Thomas's wife, Jenny Thomas, is a little disturbing. His wife is involved with some businesses and organizations that have appeared before the Supreme Court or are going to appear before the Supreme Court. And she's made several $100,000 in doing so. Now, here's the problem I have with that. And unfortunately for us, the Supreme Court does have the rules that the federal and the state courts have. They're self-policing. So any appearance of impropriety, which would usually be a death knell for a state court officer or a federal court officer, does not apply. Now, and he does not have to report the income his wife has made from some of these organizations. And I would say one of the things that I find very disturbing is that the GOP philosophy has always been strict interpretation of the Constitution and not to make any laws that are not so held within the document itself. Well, with her being involved in these organizations and getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for participating in these organizations, is anyone naive enough to believe that there is absolutely no conversation taking place between him and his wife? Well, if you're married, you know that's just not the case. There would be some pillow talk happening about what goes on in the day, because we all do it.
Now, don't forget, there's also couples out there when they go vote together, they're not always voting together, quote unquote.
Right.
Because one would imagine they're going to cancel out the other one's vote. So,
well, we have some people that on opposite sides of the fence, like Marley Matin and oh my God, his name just jumped out of my mind, and her husband, who's a very famous political strategist. They're married, they got a couple of kids, and they get along fine, and that's okay. But he's not a member of the Supreme Court, nor is she. The question in my mind is, will this have, or does this have, an effect on Clarence Thomas as a member of the Supreme Court? And I have to say, it would be absolutely foolish for anybody to say it would have no bearing, but that's just not true. What he should do, or what I would do in his position, is I would object to my wife being involved in any of those organizations so as not to taint my reputation or cast a shadow on some of the decisions that I might make. Doesn't matter whether you believe he did or he didn't. The taint and the smell is bad. And now let me take you back to a situation that you really raised holy hell about. When Bill Clinton met the former Attorney General on the airplane pad, and they talked. Do you remember that, Cliff?
oh yeah, it was in the news for quite some time for a while.
People went crazy. That wasn't even a husband and wife. That was just the president talking to an old friend, and you went nuts because you thought that that could have a bearing on what might be happening with Hillary Clinton. Now, if you think for 1 minute this man is sleeping every night with this woman and she is so actively involved and it is not having a bearing on his thinking process, you are naive, because it is.
Wow.
It is. And I think that's a problem.
340-1590, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I would love to hear your opinion about that. I would love to hear your opinion about that. The other thing that has been a lot of discussion recently is America Racist. And it's part of what critical race theory says, that there is an element of racism that is weaved throughout the nature and of our government. And there's those that say no. Here's what I want you to give some thought to for a second. What authority has been bestowed upon white people in this country to preside over the rights of black and brown people when the black and brown people were here before they were and helped build this country? So I just would like for you just to give me your thoughts. What is it that is endemic in the nature of how we do things that gives the right to all white folks to determine the liberty and the democracy that black and brown people are to enjoy? Especially if you've been here and you're a second or third generation person here. And most of us, see, here's the thing, I know some of you who've listened to me for a long time probably tired of hearing me say this. I don't know anything else. I know nothing. I'm an American. I'm as American get. I'm American through and through. USA stamped on my forehead and placed in my heart. That's who I am. I can't claim any African heritage. If I have some, I haven't found it yet. And I've recently started working on ancestry, and I've gone back a couple generations. I still haven't found anything that tells me that I'm from a tribe in Africa
that provided insurance.
Yes, exactly.
If it was Africa, I don't think it was the jungles, Rudy. I think it was Egypt.
Yeah.
It's more like Egypt, yeah.
Yeah. And so I just want to say to you, if you are trying to preside over me when I've been here longer than you, what gives you that right? Just tell me. Educate me. Tell me why that is. Tell me why it's okay that situation exists that way.
Now, we've seen some great evolution in America lately due to the civil rights movement, and we've come a long, long way. But,
yes,
that can be perfected, because I think that the racism does still systematically exist in the USA, because I hear what people don't let you hear, and you've known stuff that was never reported and never really complained about. But now it's a little different. It's getting better, and every now and then it seems like somebody wants to try to throw a wrench into the machinery and mess everything up.
It is definitely getting better.
Yeah.
But I kind of have the advantage that you have in the sense that I have good friends who tell me sometime, this is what I heard when I was in the hot tub or when I was in the steam room. So don't let anybody tell you it doesn't exist, because it does exist. But
listen to the callers of the show sometimes when they get up.
That's right. Yes, yes. But yeah. So yeah. But that's true. And yes, there has been progress. But you know what? This is the experiment, the great experiment. Democracy is the great experiment. And with the experiment, we have to always strive for perfection. And I'm going to say something that I bet you most of you never really thought of. Black and brown people have helped to perfect this democracy through protests. By protesting and looking to correct our system of government, it has helped to perfect America itself. So, you know what? Just sit and think about it for a second, because I was looking at something recently, and the gentleman came on and said, I don't think most people understand that black people have really helped us perfect who and what America is supposed to be. Even when we disagree with them, they are constantly challenging us to be the democracy we say we are. Isn't that true? Think about it. What are black people trying to do? They're trying to get you to perfect democracy, to expand the rights of all human beings. That's what they're trying to do.
I wonder if our founding forefathers ever foresaw, what they had actually done in our Constitution. That they've actually opened doors for people in the future, which were, back in those days, not treated like normal citizens or average citizens. It was definitely inequality. It was like void. It was like disaster. But little by little, how we've come through it. Now, if you look back at what they really wanted to do, like the words in the Constitution that dedicated. Okay, it was one of Lincoln's speeches, dedicated to the proposition that all men are what? Created equal.
Yes.
Yeah, not cookie cutter stamp, but created equal.
Yes.
So we're all. There is a master race, friends. It's called the human race, and it includes everybody.
Absolutely right.
And we're the keepers of the earth.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Words right from the Constitution. Wow. And I can tell you, for those people that don't get it, I think I confessed to you some time ago that I went for about 20 years where I wouldn't pledge allegiance to the flag. And part of the reason I wouldn't is it happened with me. It happened after the 1968 Olympics in Mexico, where John Carlos and Tommy Smith raised the glove, and they lost their gold medals for trying to protest for human rights for black folks. And what and what affected me was, I was standing there one day and I was pledging allegiance to the flag, and I looked across the room and I saw people there pledging allegiance who never was ever going to treat me with the words that was in that pledge. And I said to myself,
awesome revelation, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I was saying those words, and I looked across the room and I said, we're supposed to be pledging allegiance to our country, and those guys over there don't believe a word. Right. They just said. They're just
a
saying
monotonous, monotone repetition that they've done since kindergarten.
Right. It was just a ritual that they did, and the words had no meaning to them. Yeah. And I said to myself at that point, how can I continue to say these words along with other people that it means nothing to? But eventually, my mother convinced me to do it, and I am not sorry. I came back to doing it, but I still, because the amount of people that I would look at across the room that felt that way has changed rather dramatically. It still exists, but it's changed dramatically, no doubt. Now, again, that number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590. Now, another thing coming up, which we haven't seen in quite a while, is affirmative action. We talked about that a little bit here. there's a case coming before the Supreme Court involving Harvard and the University of North Carolina about whether or not it is proper to use race as a basis for admission. Now, I can't speak to the North Carolina situation, even though my brother-in-law graduated law school there, and my niece graduated undergraduate and graduate school at the University of North Carolina. But I do know about Harvard, and Harvard's thing has always been, and this is going to surprise some of you, they never have taken all straight A students, never. That's not part of their philosophy. Although most people, if you ask them about Harvard, oh, you have to be in the top of your class or you'll never have a chance. Well, you're going to be, if you're the top of your class, you get a better chance than most. But Harvard's philosophy has always been to not only educate you, but to provide you with an experience. That experience included people from different walks of life and mixing people with various GPAs within the confines of Harvard. That's always been their philosophy for as long as I can remember. I didn't know it when I was in college, but I happen to know a couple of students that graduated from there, and I sat down with them and had a long talk with them, and they educated about that was part of what made Harvard different, is because they tried to do that. Now, was it perfect? No, but obviously, if you graduated from Harvard, you got a pretty quality education, that's for sure. Again, that number is 340-1590. So the question we have to ask ourselves, which is going to be before the court, can a college make provisions to allow people from different walks of life to come to their institution? And is that discriminatory against other people? I don't know. I'd say no. But that's not a shocker to you. But let me tell you why I would say no. Not just because it's a liberal thing. I say no because there's such things as legacy. Have you ever heard of legacy? Do you guys know what legacy means? Legacy means if you got a son, a father, mother, sister, brother that graduated from Harvard, when you put that on your application, you're going to get some consideration as far as legacy is concerned. If you are a prime-time athlete and you're not going to a D1 school and you're a pretty good student, there's a strong possibility that you get a scholarship from Harvard or Princeton or Yale to play your sport. Is that discriminatory? That you got the C+ student or C student that comes to your school to play basketball or football because he has athletic ability? And don't you think it don't happen, because it does. It happens. You get students that are not top of the line students that come because they're great athletes and they get an opportunity to come to one of these schools. And you know, just before we came on the air, Cliff gave us there was a news brief on here that the graduation rates in the country are declining. And I told you last week that the graduation rates in our county are up.
I saw Wayne Gent on one of the TV news stations in the last 24 hours. I'm pretty sure it was yesterday, talking about the graduation rate being up on the Treasure Coast.
Yes, yes. I am very, 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 very proud of that. Having been the past president of an American Education Foundation, I am very proud of that. And listen, a lot of times in the past, and I talked about this last week, when we had major players come into this county for business, they were told that they had to go to school in either Vero or Stewart because the St. Lucie County schools are not up to par. Well, let's put that to bed. You can go to school in Fort Pierce and get a high-quality education. You can go to school in Port St. Lucie and get a high-quality education. And right here in our community, your kids can get a high-quality education. So let's do away with that garbage that's been out there floating. And we already talked about the fact that I'm going to make an effort in February to provide you with information that about achievements of black folks that you're not commonly aware of. I saw something the other day, my wife saved me from PBS, about, and a lot of people have heard the name, didn't know much about it, Fannie Lou Hamer. Just a regular black woman who had been on a plantation and just fought like hell for her freedom. And she was an inspiration to a lot of people. And that story is, and you could probably get that on demand on PBS, and that story is worth looking at because this little lady, strong, powerful black lady, went out there and said, I just want to be free. I don't want to be on the plantation anymore. And you know, when you think about how long that was, we had family members that lived and died and never knew anything else but a plantation. I mean, when you think about that, that's pretty deep, isn't it, Cliff? You had generations. You probably had 4 generations or 5 generations of people that knew nothing but a plantation.
Wow. I'll bet you it was their hopes and dreams and wishes that empowered our forefathers to create what they did.
Sure.
You know, that's inspiring.
Sure it is.
You got to take inspiration any way it comes, friends.
Yeah. But just think about that. And that lady, and she had one wish, and they built a statue to her. She said, please don't bury me on a plantation.
Live there long enough, don't want to be stored
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Good call.
Bury me anywhere, but don't bury me on a plantation.
Wow.
And again, that phone number is 340-1590.
You mesmerized your audience tonight.
I think so.
I think when people start learning something, they realize, wow, maybe I should listen further. Something's going on here, and well, you're part of it. The next step, of course, is we'll all get together for some barbecue.
Yes.
You know, that's a good way.
Absolutely,
Make
absolutely. Listen, you know, I am trying very hard, although most people may not think so. I try very hard to try to understand the other side. What is it that presses your buttons and pulls your knobs? I try very hard to, but they are frequently, I'm going to say, very dishonest about what they feel because they don't want to be judged, or what they feel might not be publicly acceptable. Which leads me to this other topic here that I've tried to explore before. Why, if you're on the right, why are you so angry? Why are you so mad? What is it that is happening in our society that has just made you so intolerant and so unbending and so much resistant to all the changes that are on the horizon? And I'm just going to say this to you. The world is changing at a very rapid rate. Some of the changes I find tough to swallow. I find it very tough to swallow. Like this texting thing. I recently had an incident where somebody I knew was pretty ill, and somebody sent me a text, and they didn't call me. And I was angry about that. And I understand that the world's changing, and I understand that, we have to kind of change with it. But man, how about a phone call? The phone still works. Now even
Texting has made everybody so separated from each other.
It has. It has.
You ever gone into a room and there's four people in the same family sitting around the living room and they're all texting each other?
Yes.
Sitting in the living room together, texting each other. They can't look face to face and say, "Hey, want to go see a movie or something? Anything? You want to go get some pizza?" But no, it's a quick LOL. Hungry? Boring, and then, they're not talking to each other. That's kind of scary because, if we were like most families who are here in Florida, wound up here, so the rest of our families are back home. And I can see the texting thing amongst people here with people back north. But we're talking about in the same room.
Maybe, just maybe, you got me thinking, maybe that's part of our problem. The lack of human interaction that we one time had is diminished.
Come to think of it, because we're used to being with each other and talking to each other, and the texts are so vague and obscure. There's not, the whole story's not in the text. It's just a quick line.
Exactly.
There's no compassion, just in case there might be somebody who misinterprets the message, and they get mad and they go off, and next thing you know, your phone's blowing up with all kinds of texts from people or that person.
Well, and think about something else. We grew up, you had to go to the phone booth.
Oh, and remember to bring a quarter.
Yes, you had to make sure you had some money in your pocket so that you could go to a phone booth and make a phone call. Now you carry your phone booth with you in your pocket all the time.
I haven't seen a phone booth in a long time. I've seen a lot of places where phones used to be. There used to be a payphone over here and over there and over there, and they still got some of the structure to it, but the phone's gone.
Yeah.
Because there's no money in it. Everybody's got a cell phone.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So again, that's a big change that has happened in our society that is left people not communicating as much as they could or should. So but what here's the thing I want to know most, and I had one lady one time when I was in the Walmart tell me, she said she just didn't like Democrats, and then I asked her why, and she began to tell me why, and I began to respond, and she said to me, well, maybe I didn't really understand what a Democrat was. I said, I don't think you do. Because, see, to me, the right is so angry at progressives and Democrats, and here's what I don't understand. most of the things we want are going to help you too. You want to help the rich people put more money in their pocket. You want to help protect the businesses. And we want to help everybody, including you. We don't want to leave you off. We want to help you too. And you're angry at us for what? Now, here's another perfect example. You know the microchip situation.
Oh.
You know about that, right?
Car parts, right?
Yeah, the chips.
Yeah.
They go on phones and computer equipment. Well, what happened was all the microchips and stuff that are being made now are being made in other countries. And we got a shortage. And we let it be made in other countries because they could get cheaper labor there. So now we're in a situation where we need to make the chips here. So they announced the other day, I want you to listen to this, and this is where progressives get crazy. They're going to put $50 billion into the companies to make microchips in the United States. Okay? I understand why they're doing it. I am aggravated that we put ourselves in a position of not being able to manufacture any of that here when we were the creators of this technology. But now watch this. $50 billion to make microchips, and they don't want to extend the child care credit.
Who's going to grow up to make the microchips?
Explain the logic to me of that, Cliff. 50, and hey, listen, you listen to me. Don't you take my word for it. You go look it up. They just announced $50 billion is going to be invested to help make microchips in the United States. And I really don't have a problem with that because it was our technology. The only thing I'm mad about is that they let the companies go all the way across the water where they can make them cheaper. And now that they're in a desperate situation, they want to come back now and put it here. Okay, I'm with that. I'm not happy about it, but I wouldn't buck that. Even as a progressive, I won't buck it because I know it's something that would be important to help stimulate our economy. But why would you not then want to make an investment in our children so that their mothers and fathers can go out and work and do some of the work that's necessary to develop these microchips? Can somebody tell me why? What am I missing? Can somebody tell me what I'm missing? Call me up and tell me, Rudy Howard, you're a fool. You don't know what you're talking about. I welcome that phone call.
You might not be that foolish after all, Rudy. Well, you know, the difference between progressives and conservatives, the difference. So I start looking around and paying attention to what's going on, and I'm seeing a very, very almost balanced scale. I mean, the difference, you have to really dig deep to find real differences, and they're usually personal and emotional.
That's the point, Cliff. The difference is not that gigantic when you get underneath the hood and look at what it's all about. It's perception. Part of it is the perception that is painted, and the conservatives are much better at painting a negative picture than Democrats. Democrats are lousy at that. Just like, for example, and I've said this before, and there's going to be people that are going to want to kick their radio when I say this. Nancy Pelosi will go down as one of the greatest speakers of the House in the history of this country, and there is nobody that conservatives have bashed more than Nancy Pelosi, to the point where you can ask a conservative the number one thing they do is they hate Nancy Pelosi. And I said, well, why do you hate her? What has she done?
Well, you know, the biggest lesson learned is bashing doesn't do anything to make your problem, your perceived problem, go away.
No, because she's still standing. She's still getting stuff done.
She's still got the gavel in her hand.
And listen, contrary to what they would like to say, Boehner ran away because he couldn't control his people. Paul Ryan ran away when Trump's people came involved. He couldn't control his caucus. Nancy has controlled all of them. AOC, Ilya Omar, she gets all of them. She whips all of them in line. Now, so you can criticize her all you want, but she is very, very, very effective. And that's just a pure objective observation. And if you look at what Boehner was able to do and what Paul Ryan was able to do, and look what Nancy's been able to do, she got through the health care bill. She just got through the infrastructure bill. Nancy can get it done. She knows how to get it done. And you know, I'm going to tell you something else. Nancy's going to get us a Build Back Better. Now, it might not be what some wanted it to be, but some semblance of that is going to pass. That's for sure. And I know, so now you can finish screaming at your radio that I gave these glowing remarks to Nancy Pelosi. But, you know, if you can look at it objectively, which I know is very hard for you to do, then you would be able to say to yourself that she is very effective because she's able to get things done. And that's basically what the Speaker of the House is supposed to do, get things done. Well,
I don't think even Newt Gingrich pulled off as much as she has.
No, but Newt was a very effective speaker, too.
Oh, yeah.
He got a little crazy, which is why his people kicked him out. It wasn't the Democrats that kicked him out. But Newt was very, very... Now, see, I'm going to just show you I'm objective. Newt Gingrich was effective, no doubt about it. Did I like everything he did? No, but he did some good things, and he was very, very effective as speaker. So, hey, it is what it is, and so that there is the truth, for sure. So, you just can't tell me why you're so angry. Is the world just changing too fast for you?
Maybe folks are realizing that the differences aren't that vague as differences. Maybe we all think alike a little differently, but we do all basically have a lot of the same values. Whether you're progressive or conservative, there's some issues, personal issues that you just feel strongly towards because they work for everybody.
Absolutely.
When you find all that stuff that works together for good, then you'll understand what the melting pot of America was. I remember being a kid in school, they told you about the great melting pot.
That's right.
And I was to think, melting pot, what are they doing there? Well, when you cook up a soup, you got to put good ingredients in it because you want everything to taste good, right? So you put all the best of everything you can in it. And what we have is people of all shapes and sizes and colors and educated levels and all that. And when we're all together as a nation, that's greatness.
No question about it. I have said, I've been on here for 10 years, and I have said this more times than I can count, that we are at our very, very best when you take what comes from the right, what comes from the left, you put it in the soup, synthesize it, and you come up with an idea. That's when we're at our very, very best. But to do that, we have to listen to each other. You have to be open to listen to what the other person has to say. And that allows us to come to the conclusion, allows us to come to different conclusions about what it is that we need to do going forward. That is absolutely the epitome of what makes America great. And if you look at some of the most successful companies in this country, they were done by foreigners. And we have who?
Frank is with us.
Yes, Frank.
Hello, gentlemen. I'm sorry to call so late. I actually liked the rest of the program until just a minute ago. You said that the best thing we do is when we put liberal and conservative ideas together and move them forward. Here's my question. Name one conservative idea that you actually approve of.
One conservative idea?
Just one.
Just one. I believe in the Second Amendment, but I don't believe.
Sure?
Yeah, I do, but I don't. I don't believe that you should have AR-15s. I don't believe you need a 15-shot. What do you call it?
A clip.
Yeah, I don't. I think you don't. I don't think you need a 15-shot clip.
Okay, but you believe in handguns and revolvers.
Yeah, sure.
Because the rest of your people in Washington don't.
That's not
they
true.
They can't wait to. Really?
No,
name
listen,
one.
Frank.
Name one Congress. Name one House of Representative member that is for the Second Amendment. That's a Democrat.
Well, Frank, let me say this to you. The whole time Obama was in office, you kept saying he was going to take your guns. He never took your guns. He never wanted to take your guns. He's not anti-Second Amendment. Now, this is exactly why I wanted to have this kind of dialogue.
Yeah.
Most Democrats I know of own guns. They don't. They don't own. They don't.
Most Democrats agree with Beto O'Rourke in Texas.
Most Democrats don't own AR-15s.
All right, but okay, that's not the point.
That is the point.
Most Democrats agree with Beto O'Rourke in Texas. He says we're going to come out and we're going to get your guns, and nobody's disagreed with him.
Well, that's not necessarily true. I don't agree.
Really? Name one Democrat that disagrees with Beto O'Rourke.
I'm going to tell you one. Right now you're talking to one. I don't believe that we should... Okay, well, let me finish. Let me finish. I don't think that we should come and get your guns, but I don't think you need an AR-15.
I don't either.
Okay, so then we agree.
Yeah.
How about that? Isn't that shocking? Rudy, we agreed. Huh?
You're what? Yes, Rudy. You're one of the good guys. The ones I'm scared of are the ones that are in power. By the way, you were saying how Nancy Pelosi was so effective. Isn't she the one that initiates the programs that you're complaining aren't getting done? Doesn't she control those agendas?
Not completely, but
takes the rest of the Congress too. But we're out of time.
We're out of time, Frank. You got to call me
I
sooner
know, I
next
called
time.
earlier.
Call more often, though.
Okay, Frank.
Great show tonight. Very
Great
good show.
call.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the compliment. Well, folks, I'd like to thank you for listening to the African American Scene. God bless and be safe, and I'll see you next Monday right here for the African American Scene.
Brought to you by Martin County Roofing and independent insurance agent Rudy Howard's African American Scene. Temporarily on Mondays in the 6 o'clock hour till IRSC basketball season is finished, and he'll be back to Wednesday nights. This is WPSL, Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.